Hey guys, it's Lynn here, and today we're going to be doing my first tutorial. I am super excited today because I'm going to be showing you how to make Ahri's orb from League of Legends. Again, I'm not a professional YouTuber. I'm actually using my phone camera right now, so I'm sorry if it seems a little wonky. But to start, I'm just going to show you with what you guys are going to need for this project. You don't need potatoes, and you don't need hand sanitizer or a pink kettle. But if you need tea or you want to make potatoes, it might come in handy. Just kidding. Okay, so the first thing, the main item you're going to need is actually this plastic orb. And you can buy this on Amazon for under $10. They're actually ornament orbs for Christmas. And this is going to be the main orb, so try to choose a size that is not too big or too small. Mine is a medium size, and as you can see, it just comes apart in half, and that is really important. We want one that snaps together and apart. Okay, the second thing you're gonna need are some sort of lighting that's gonna go in this, and these ones are actually LED lights that I've used before. You can get them in multi-packs on Amazon. And this one actually has batteries and a remote, and it changes colors. Changing colors isn't necessary, but the remote will definitely come in handy, and also something where you can change the battery is really important. Next thing you're gonna need is light blue tulle or some sort of kind of see-through fabric. Some people use silk. Some people use just like a very, very lightweight cotton, but you want it to be kind of a light electric blue. And again, you can get that on Amazon, pretty cheap. And then of course, we're gonna want paint, and you just want it to be in whatever color scheme you're working with. So I have a couple different blues, some white, nothing too fancy. And then you're gonna need paint brushes, and I like to use a jar to put my paint brushes in when I've been using them or mixing the colors together. And then the last thing we're using is actually a soldering iron, but we are going to be using this for a very specific purpose. You may not need it, so I will talk about that soon. Okay, you guys, we're back for the next part of the video on how to make Ahri's orb from League of Legends. Now, when I talked about the soldering iron, I said that specifically you may or may not need it depending on what type of plastic orb that you can get. So this type of plastic orb fits together just right in the middle. Okay, just like that, kind of clicks together. But because it is like a Christmas ornament, we have an issue where there is two little ornament hangers on the very top. They actually line up, I'm just not putting it together right. But for the orb, we don't want anything that's going to be sticking out of it or hanging off of it, where that is where the soldering iron comes in. So this is a soldering iron. You can get a kit on Amazon for fairly cheap. And what we're going to be doing is literally just taking off this top plastic part to get started. So again, this is kind of dangerous. Be very, very careful. You'll notice there is a lot of smoke coming from this. And also, the other thing is, you never want to set the hot iron onto your counter, which you should always have some sort of metal holder, or if you don't have a metal holder, use a metal bowl. Okay, so we've gotten it off, but it fell into the plastic there, so now we have to get it off there. Okay. So not perfect, but it will work. So as you can see, we have burned it off. If you're really, really particular about it, you can kind of use the iron just to like smooth it over a little bit. But again, not great to breathe in plastic smoke. Try to get some ventilation if you can. And we're just gonna do the exact same thing on the other side. So right where that little part is, we want to get rid of that with the soldering iron. And I am not like super professional with soldering stuff. I have barely used it. I took a material science class in high school, and we did work with glass, plastic, things like that, but like I'm not an expert. I'm kind of a baby. So we're just doing what seems right here, which is, I think, the motto of most cosplayers. Again, you might have to like knock it off. Main part. There we go. Okay, so the bead has fallen off. We've got a little bit of plastic on the edge there. Just want to get that off. Okay. I don't know if you you guys can see this. Okay, so this side turned out way better. So as you can see, we got that off. And if we want to go a step further, I'm just gonna kind of smooth that plastic over and down. Okay, so that's what we're left with. Not like amazing, but when you hold your ball, you're gonna put that part down in your hand anyways, so you won't see if you made a hole or if you made any accidental things. So before I show you guys, let me just put down my soldering iron. Again, if you have a soldering iron like this, so this is a really cheap one, you can go to Amazon, be warned, this little part here has weight. So if you set the soldering iron down on your counter or desk with the weight hanging off, it will pull it. So make sure that the weight is up on the counter and the soldering iron can just sit in the holder without anything pulling or pushing it in a weird direction, because that can be dangerous. Okay, so this is what we have now that we have gotten rid of that weird tab. Get it to just fit together really nice. Oh my goodness. It's just one of those days where like no matter what you do, you just can't do anything right. Okay, so now that we've gotten rid of that little portion, it just looks like that. So it is kind of like ugly in that one spot. However, we're gonna be doing a lot more to this so you won't notice it. And if you really mess up and like you have a big gap or something there, again, just switch it down so that portion is where you're holding it. So it will look like this so you won't even notice. Okay, you guys, so now that we have gotten the orb ready to go, and it's looking all good, we are gonna get ready to actually paint the inside. So what you're gonna need is acrylic paints, and as you can see, I have a couple different blue ones here, a jar, a little container or palette that you can put them into. I just like these really cheap little Tupperwares that I have left over because you can mix it in there and you can save it or toss it. Some paintbrushes. I would recommend a few different types so then you can have a variation of what the design looks like. And then of course the most important part is a reference picture. So when you're doing any sort of cosplay accessory or design of any type, even doing a costume, always make sure you have a reference picture because this will kind of change the way that you do things, and also it gives you a good idea of the color scheme that you're going to be working with and what it should look like. So the one thing I notice about Ahri's orb is that it is very has very swirls in it, I guess like glowy swirls, kind of magic. So that's kind of what we're going to go for as we paint the orb, and we're going to do each inside separately because they come apart. We're gonna kind of make the design go being like a swirl that starts from the bottom up and then kind of swirls up to the top. And again, because there is going to be the tulle and lights in here, doesn't have to be perfect. We're just gonna kind of do like a thinner design, not too thick, not too thin, just kind of adding some color in. Okay, you guys, so this is what it looks like after one layer of paint. Now you're gonna notice that the inside of these, where you're painting versus the outside, are going to look different. So it's really good as you're painting to kind of lift them up and check to see what the outside is actually looking like. So we kind of have this little bit of a gradient going on, which is what we're going for. And again, I kind of worked with those kind of swirlies that we're trying to go for. Okay, so here's the next one. As you can see, got some swirlies. However, what you want to do is actually hold it up to a light. So this is just using my apartment light. And this is where you can see anywhere that the paint didn't really get, I guess. And this is where you'd want to go back and do a second layer. So as you can see, no light versus light does look different, so keep that in mind. Okay, so now that the paint is dried, it took about 45 minutes to an hour to get it to dry fully because we're painting on plastic. So this is what it's going to look like after it dries. Notice it's very glossy on the outside, the inside is matte. You can see some brush strokes, but don't worry too much about that because with the tulle and lights inside, it'll diffuse pretty nicely. So we have both sides that are now done and dry for the next part. Okay, so now that the paint is dried in the orb, this is what it looks like when it's put together. Don't worry too much about the seam line because again, if you stuck with the swirls, it doesn't look quite as noticeable, and you can also tilt it different ways in pictures to kind of get different designs. So we're gonna go on to the next portion now, where I will talk about the filling of the orb, and we're gonna be getting out our tool, we're gonna be getting out some scissors, and then some sort of adhesive. I'm gonna recommend hot glue because it's quicker, easier, and you can fix it much easier. So let's go on. So the next step is actually super simple, guys. I don't know if I'm gonna film myself actually doing it, but we're gonna just pretty much take the tool, cut big pieces out of it. So this is just one long piece. And then gather it up, and we are going to hot glue it inside of the orb, and this is going to create the light diffusion that we want. Okay, so now that we have the insides filled with tulle and they're glued, they should be fairly full of tulle because it's going to hold the light pack in a little bit more securely. And also make sure you kind of glue the edges down, so if you do have to pop it open, there's not tulle like flying out. The next portion we're going to be doing is actually the lighting. So this is the lighting strip that I bought on Amazon, and I specifically actually got this for a skirt detail for Star Guardian Ahri to make it so I could have the skirt light up and move differently. So these are LED strip lights, and this pack specifically I got on Amazon changes color and also has different settings that you can sync up to music, which is really fun. I like that just because I think it's kind of creative, I guess. And there's a battery pack portion here, so you're gonna need some batteries to fill that up, or if you buy one that already has batteries, I think it's 3 AA batteries. And then you'll notice there is a little switch here where you can switch it on or off. And what it's going to do is not turn the lights on and off, but it will make it so it reacts with the remote control or it doesn't. So make sure before you do this, you have your thing switched to the on position, which is on the right. And then this is the remote control that will control it. So I'll give you guys kind of a little preview so you can see what these are like. Woo, nice and bright, very pretty. We can change it so it's different colors. So we can also see what different color combinations look cool in the blue. We can do more of, this one's a purple, this one is more of a deep blue. You can kind of just, you know, play around with it. There's lots of them. And the other thing is with this remote, you can also turn the brightness down, or you can have the brightness be as bright as possible, which is probably what you're going to want for the inside of this because it will be diffusing light. There's also the fact that you can have the lights pulse, so it kind of slowly fades in and out, which I think is really cool. This one's a little bit slower. Or you can have it where it changes color, or you can have it where it will jump to music, which is really fun. So if you're doing some action shots, something like that. And the cool thing is you can keep this in your pocket or in your purse as you wear the costume. So what we're pretty much going to be doing, and I'm just going to explain it to you guys, we're going to be setting the battery pack inside of here, not gluing it, not permanently attaching it, because if you need to change the batteries, you're going to have to be able to get access to this, and this portion actually slips off to replace the batteries, so it's just easier if you can take the whole thing out. And then what we're going to be doing, instead of having fairy string lights that you kind of string in there, we're going to be creating kind of a circular shape with this round stuff. Now the red side of this LED strip, there we go, the red side of it is actually a sticky part. So if you remove this, it's all sticky. However, we don't want it to be sticking on everything, so we're going to be using some hot glue and kind of creating a round shape that I'll show you guys. Okay, you guys, so with the lighting, I ran into my first snag, which was the strip LED lights in here, unfortunately, will not be hot glued. The plastic that they use on top of the LEDs, it just comes apart. Like, there's nothing for the hot glue to really stick to, I guess. So after trying to hot glue it like 4 times, I finally gave up and decided to just shove all the lights in there. And as I turned them on, I realized that actually the way that this diffuses the light is already so nice that you really don't need to have a specific pattern or any way that you're adding the lights in. Like if you're using fairy lights, if you're using strip lights, they're totally gonna be fine. So now I'm gonna show you guys the finished product of what it looks like. And I'll give you guys a little tutorial on this little remote for different looks of it. So I know my camera is not the best, guys, I'm sorry, but I hope you can kind of see this a little bit better. So we have a little bit of gradient going on, which is really nice. It makes it glow in different places and also makes it look a little more magical, I guess, versus just having it like one solid neon color. You can mess around with this a little bit too and decide which colors you like it to be better. Again, guys, sorry my camera is not amazing, but there's a couple different colors that don't show up quite as well, and then blue shows up really well, purple shows up super well, and so does the I think it's cyan on here, if you guys can see that. So the other thing that you can also do is change it so that it fades, and this is really cool because it glows. So this will make it slowly light up. So let me actually turn some lights off here so you guys can get the full effect. But look how bright that is. Super duper bright. That's what we're going for, a little bit of a gradient. And then of course when the color fades, just that coloring on it will look really, really nice like in a convention center. Okay, you guys, so here is how you can see how bright this thing is. We're actually in my bathroom because it's the only place that doesn't have natural light. So as you can see, this thing super bright. You can light up an entire cosplay picture with it. This is on the brightest setting, so you know, make it glow or also make it fade. Beautiful. Woo. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this video. I hope it was helpful and fun, and you guys are able to make your own orb to light up your life and cause some mischief and despair. I'll see you guys back here for the next video, and have a good day.